it starts with what is the environment you are actually conditioned in. Are there spaces where you can absolutely be authentic and bring all of you to the table? In my household, as much as I love my parents, and if they see this, they will agree. You couldn't be all of who you wanted to be because my parents didn't play. Dad, Vietnam veteran, army man. He, didn't say much, but when he said something, it spoke volumes. And so it started there with understanding that there are particular things that were acceptable in regards to my character, the identities I brought to the table, and the spaces I could occupy, and where I could advocate for myself. And then I found myself in school navigating and negotiating. Well, all right, you all are talking about I need to be, bring my full self to school, bring my full self to work. Well, I have learned as a black man in this America that is not necessarily true. You can't bring all, because there are some things that viscerally the world is not always ready for, depending on who's in the room and what has been their exposure to black men who happen to be 6'3" or tall or dark chocolate or queer. Like all of that is a thing. So some of this starts at the kitchen table with our families. There are other spaces we occupy, whether or not it's church groups, and sometimes it is being in a Bible study class. Sometimes it may be hanging out with the girls and the girlfriends or the fellas, and you're kind of in your own social circles. And again, I find that it's about how are we spending time in space and recognizing we have some commonalities on how we want to live into our relationship. And that may be that we are always going to be 100 and 100 with one another. Well, I've been in spaces where that seems to be a norm, but that's not necessarily true because people don't always receive the truth in the way that is delivered, right? And so you have to constantly make sure that the people in the space understand the ground rules of how we are going to be in this space. So sometimes it is in friendships, sometimes it's in our familial relationships, in our like I'm in a relationship now. And so with my partner, we still working on making sure that in our home, in our space, that we continue to live in love, and we have to be very clear and explicit about how we going to live into our own set of norms and our values, and how we're really working to not be angry when we go to bed. Like anger should not be in the bedroom. Like it's very important. And I also think about, okay, well, what are some of the other norms and how does that actually show up in my different relationships? So for some of my friends, in regards to the spaces that are very intimate, but are incredibly nurturing, um, are can I trust you? It
Mhm.
makes me think about Dr. Brene Brown. Can I trust you with the things that are most vulnerable and close to me and know that you will protect them, that you won't share them out with anyone, that I know that you're going to hold on to that? Are you going to have a sense of integrity so that when I really need you and I need to lean on you? Medea talked about, don't, sometimes people are a leaf or a branch, and sometimes
Yeah.
you lean upon them people and think that they, strong enough and they can't. Like, do you have the integrity to stand with me when I'm going through stuff? And so for each space and each grouping, I think it has to be clear about what is our why and what we do as a relationship, but also how are we going to set norms about being together? Because that is the thing that I have come to learn makes or breaks good relationships.
So, okay. So I thank you for that because first of all, I loved how you said it starts off at the kitchen table. I mean, that's dope right
Mhm.
there as a by itself. But so what I'm hearing, because sometimes people think brave space, they put brave space, safe space, they kind of put them together and call it affinity space and all these like, but
Mhm.
I don't think they're synonymous. I think based
Mhm.
off of how you defined it, there's a lot of differences there. And brave space doesn't necessarily have to mean a physical space, but more on
Mhm.
the impact of the relationship between the, how people are communicating. And I love how you started with, at home, this is how I was raised. This was a space that was created at home, versus like, this is a relationship with my partner, or this is a relationship that I have with colleagues and peers. Am I allowed, am I free to engage and communicate the best way for me, how I can articulate things? Is that space or that relationship that I have with that individual, is it open for me to do so, even if we disagree? I think people like me, and I'll be honest, sometimes I don't like conflict. I don't want to, I don't want people to disagree with things I have to say. Or, if I'm having a conversation, I want them to agree. And always, sometimes it's tough to share, hey, you hurt my feelings. Because I don't know how they're going to take it. I don't know how they're going to respond. And sometimes I'm sitting there thinking and trying to work it out and practicing and rehearsing. How am I going to have this conversation? Because I don't want these kind of things to get controversial and all that stuff. So I love how you're framing it. Let me ask you this then, Craig, because when we're thinking about, okay, the relationships, what are some of the norms? You mentioned norms a few times. How
Mm-hmm.
do you establish those type of norms with individuals?
Mm. So, with my leadership team, we have norms that are that we co-created together and said, all right, we're all a team together,
Mhm,
and we are called to lead incredible work on behalf of an organization that has youth from 4 all the way up to mortgage payers. And we talk about what is important to us. Direct and clear communication. You have to be very explicit in what it is that you're saying here, and we have to be clear about intent and impact.
right.
Because we could say a lot of things. We have to make sure the intent is clear and understand that there's impact that comes as a result of whatever we said or laid at the table. We also believe that we must take responsibility for our own part of the work. And so that may mean that if there are timelines and deadlines and next steps, you got to do that. Like, you got to make sure you do what you need to do, because it's interconnected to everyone else's work and how we move the school. If I look at that as a teacher, because I know that there are some teachers here and they're thinking, okay, well, how do I then create norms for my classroom? Because that's important. We do an inventory. What is important to us?
Mm,
Trustworthiness. Well, how do we show and demonstrate trustworthiness? Well, it may mean that we apologize if we hurt someone, or we make sure our materials go back into the same spaces that they belong to, because it's everyone's materials, to make sure we're good. So that could be a thing. In your social circles, it could be that you will elect, as being a friend in this group, that when I tell you something, in our friend group, that if I tell you and I trust you with something, you don't go tell the other members, because if
mhm,
I wanted to tell the entire group, I'm going to tell them myself. And allow that to be the thing that you need to do. And so I found that co-creating norms that we can all live into, is one of the best ways that everyone has buy-in. If you hand some people down, like, this is the thing you must do, people are gonna push back, because some people are like, they naturally are gonna be like, I ain't doing it just because you told me. I'm like, but it's air. You need to breathe it. It's okay. And like, I ain't gonna breathe it because you told me to breathe the air. I'm like, well, you can die then. And I mean, that'll be sad, but you could. Like, it's cute.
You can dive in.
I'm just
That's
saying.
fun. Okay. So, okay. Let me. Here's the thing. I love that, and I love that you're saying it's a team approach, and it's not just like, all right, I printed out five rules or norms for the classroom or for the for staff meetings and things like that. Do you think that those norms should be established when it comes to one-on-one? Let me back that up. Let me back that up. As a
Mm,
school leader,
yeah.
all right. Um, I'm assuming you have office hours. I'm assuming
Hmm.
you have your preferred way of communicating, if it's maybe email or maybe it's phone or text, or you have ways that your staff can contact you. Do you have, or how do your staff know, like one on one, they want to approach you, not as a group, but just want to
Yep.
have that opportunity? How is that communicated to them?
Oh, so I'm like, one, if you see me you see me walking around like, Craig, can I have a moment? Yeah, what's up? If I can, I'm like, look, I will get back to you. I'm doing X. Or
Mm.
send me an email, send me a text, let me know. Uh, all right, Elizabeth. Yes. I what I find is I have to consistently show up and be consistent in how I show up in order for people to trust that when they come to me with something, that it is received. I receive them, and that they can get the support they need. If what they come to me for in regards to support is kind of left out there, or they feel like they didn't get what they needed, or they feel like I blame them for whatever is happening, then yeah, I can see why it is that they don't trust me. But I try to make sure that on the bottom of my email, everyone can go to my Calendly right now and find time to book with me. Anyone in the entire globe can say, Craig, I want to meet with you. Here's how I want to meet. Cool. That Let's do it. Let me know what you want to talk about. But it's open. And everyone, at least in my building, knows where I am. So I'm like, if you want to, you knock on the door. And here's how I incentivize people coming by. Because I'm the man who always got chocolate in the box. So like today, somebody opened the box and was like, Craig, then what's up? And I'm like, oh, okay. And look, brought the Kit Kats and Sour Patch, because that is another way to get people to want to come by and have a chat, is having some stuff nearby that I know feeds a need. And teachers, they are a little chocolate go a long way.
Hmm. So
Yeah.
that's a little tip, folks. Y'all heard that? Y'all heard that's a little tip. Have the chocolates ready just in case. I
Just a
love
little
that.
something. Southern hospitality, man.
Southern hospitality. Okay, so and I like that how you explain that, and I'm glad. I think it's really important because I have teachers that reach out and say, I don't know how to approach my principal, or
Hmm.
I'm afraid to approach my principal. I'm just a dot dot dot. I'm just a custodian. I'm just a para. I'm just a brand new teacher. Like, these are some conversations that I have, and it makes me wonder what kind of space has, or what type of communication has been provided to the staff from the administrator to let them know it's okay to jump on my Calendly, or it's okay to come by the office and ask me, hey, can you got a quick moment, and it's okay for those type of conversation to have. I think a lot of times we feel like, well, when it's a happy conversation, that shouldn't be a big problem. That shouldn't be a big deal.
Hmm.
But Craig, let me ask you this. When you
Yeah.
have staff, or how do you communicate to your staff if you have an issue, whether you
Hmm.
disagree, if you disagree with something I've said or a policy that I'm pushing for, how do,
Hmm.
like, what type of ways can staff, how does staff know that they can approach you about that?
I I'm gonna let's see. I'm gonna be honest. Can I be honest with you
Go for
all?
it.
Because I'm hopeful and I'm trusting in this space. I'm dealing. I'm I am all right, Elizabeth. I love it. Chocolate in a room.
Hmm.
I I am still navigating, even in my third year. I was having a conversation with my chief about the fact that even though I've been in the school community for as long as I've been there, people understand what my why is. They know it's centered on our young people. There are some tough things that people hold on to.
Hmm.
And yesterday we had like a whole community staff meeting to talk about some things that happened during the prior week. And we're saying, hey, we're in the hallways, we're in the classrooms, we're sitting in meetings, having conversations, and sharing out all of these things that are happening in conversations. what other things would you like? How do I make you more comfortable to approach me when things get tough and you need my assistance? I know that some of the veteran staff who've been around know that they can come and talk to me, have the conversations about things that are going on, pull me to the side, and say, "Hey, Craig, can we talk?" I believe it's the reason why they've been able to approach me on the fly with some tough stuff that they've been dealing with is in that critical moment where they needed support. I showed up. I tried to be open. I tried to restate what I'm hearing. I asked some curiosity questions. And I asked, I kind of asked some. So what it does? Have you tried this? What are you thinking about this idea? What is it that you're hoping that will be the outcome, right? And so I asked some different questions to kind of see what it is that they're looking for. Some people just want to talk. They don't even want you to solve a problem. They just
Mm.
want to be able to have someone that they can talk to that's not part of their general circle, because sometimes people are judgmental even in your circle. So I found that there are still some people who don't approach me about the things that I could help with, and I feel like it's because we still have work to do to build relationship. I understand that that is important. And I have to be intentional in that in order for people to be made whole and feel like they can come to me with the tough stuff that they're dealing with and navigating or questioning. Um, Anytime some people have a conflict with something that I am wrestling with, I put it out in the open. Hey, this is like right now, I'm talking about masking at school. I sent the survey out to everyone. 1 minute survey. There's one question. Should we actually reduce release or lift the mask mandate on at our current campus? And tons of feedback about people's thoughts on it. And what my job is then to reflect back out to the community. Here's the themes I'm hearing from the community. This is what's going to inform my decision. Here's the data, but here's some of the anecdotal stuff I'm hearing. And then I go in and talk to some people and say, hey, I am struggling here. I could use your help. What do you think about this? Because this is something I'm wrestling with. It shows I'm human. It shows that I'm interested. And because I went to them, I, said you are important enough for me to go to you. Not you come to me all the time, but I'm coming to you for some assistance. And so I think that helps to build relationships that sometimes people can feel like they are useful, and that is helpful as well.
Okay. Okay. Well, that makes sense, and I'm glad that you guys are currently working on that, and you invite teacher feedback and community members feedback as well on those, especially those tough decisions. So that covers a lot when it comes to our staff members. Ultimately, when we think about brave spaces as well, and I've done a lot of student work, and we have some student affinity groups that we run, and I think
Hmm.
that those are great as well. And we want to make sure, but here's the thing: sometimes we have these conversations, and our students are afraid to talk to not only their teachers, but they may also be afraid to talk to administrators and staff, and maybe the counselor is pretty much the only person they feel comfortable with. And I know students that are afraid to talk to counselors because they're afraid that the counselor is going to go talk to their parents or guardians. um, when we're thinking about, again, school culture, we're thinking about brave space for that our students can feel like they can go to whoever they need to go to get the help or support that they need. And I loved how you touched on sometimes people aren't there needing action, they just want to share their experiences with someone who can understand and who's empathetic. So I'm glad that you brought that up. But